Hey everybody, it's Barry Wilkinson here from Safety First Professional Driver Training up in Fort St. John, BC. And today's video we're going to talk about what it's like to actually get into the trucking industry. More of a video from a beginner standpoint as opposed to our normal videos where we're showing you what it's like on the road, what our students go through when they're learning, and things like that. So this is more of a video for someone who is interested in getting into the industry, think they'd like to get into the transportation driving sector, and the pros and cons of what you're actually going to get into. So welcome to the video. Hope you like this one. So the reason I've chosen today to shoot the video, you'll see the truck behind us. You see a lot of sun shining. Looks like a pretty nice clear day here, which is obviously great for filming. But most importantly, the temperature here right now is in the minus 30s, and right now there's no wind, but when the wind comes through here, like it's going to in a little bit here, we're going to be in a wind chill down to about minus 40 here. So that's the first important thing to remember is when you're in this industry, you're going to find that you're going to be faced with a lot of different weather. Up here in Fort St. John, this is a part of life for 8 months of the year. You're going to be facing winter weather. If you're driving, say, down in the southern U.S., you're going to be faced with a lot of heat. Some areas you could be faced with a lot of rain, muddy conditions, a whole lot of things. And all these are part of a driver's daily activities they have to deal with, not only on the road, but around the truck and underneath it also. So be prepared for any type of weather you're going to be working in. Okay, so let's go take a look at the truck. Okay, folks, so this here is our truck. Fairly modern highway transport truck. This is a Kenworth T2000. We've got a 53-foot van trailer on the back there, you can see. The total length of this unit is just over 70 feet long, so you got a little bit of length to deal with when you're driving a truck like this, of course. Also the point that it bends in the middle where the trailer is attached to the tractor, and that's something most drivers of modern day passenger vehicles don't have to deal with. So that's one of the points that you're just going to have to remember getting into the industry and driving, is this truck's going to operate a whole lot different than any other vehicle you've been in. Any other differences you can see would be the height of it, of course, quite a bit taller. We're just over 13 feet on this truck, 13.2. So definitely a lot higher compared to the cars that you're used to driving or pickup trucks you're used to driving. And certainly there's some weight differences. We'll talk about the weight in a little bit here, but you've got quite a lot of truck to deal with here, and it's something that you definitely have to be responsible with. Responsibility is certainly a big part of getting into the industry. If you're not a responsible person to begin with, or like to take chances, the type of person that just likes to fool around and have fun, certainly not the industry for you. Fun is a part of it. It can be a really rewarding industry, and it's got a family type of feel to it. By all means, it is fun, but fun and the horseplay really don't go together. So if that's the type of person you are, think of something different. If you are responsible and you want to get into the transportation industry, probably a good industry to take a look at. So let's go take a look inside the cab and see what it looks like in there. Okay. Hey folks, hope you can see me okay here. What we're showing you here is the inside of modern day cab, basically. This is going to be your operating quarters for actually driving the truck, and this is also going to be your living quarters when you're on the road. So if you're on the road trucker, this is going to be your home for weeks at a time. Sometimes that part of it can kind of feel a little bit glamorous. You know, people like to think of life on the road and living in the sleeper, living in the big cab of a truck, seeing all sorts of sights, and certainly that is a part of it. You can see some pretty interesting scenery and some pretty interesting places across North America. At the same time, the glamour can wear off fairly quickly. You live in this little confined space here for a couple weeks at a time, and I can guarantee you you're going to be pretty happy to be home and see whoever's waiting for you at home, whether it be family, friends, or just the walls of your own house or your own backyard. So anyways, what I want to do here is I'm going to show you what the cab looks like. So I'm going to give you a look at what the operating controls are like, and then we'll take a look at the rest of the cab. Okay, so right now I am standing in as far back into the sleeper of this truck as I can, and it is a fairly big sleeper. And what I'm doing is showing you the dashboard here. So here's the driver's seat, there's the steering wheel, which really, of course, doesn't look too much different than what you'd see in a normal car, other than it's a little bit bigger. But there's certainly some more controls there that we're going to take a look at. Right down there is your shifter. That's a real different thing compared to driving a normal car. We'll get to that in a second also. And then over here is the rest of your dashboard. So let's start with the dashboard itself, because that might be interesting to some people. Okay, so if you're taking a look at the dashboard here, you can see some things that are similar to your own passenger car. Right down here we've got a stereo, you can listen to some music. Down here we've got a road radio for talking to others on the road. This one happens to be old Citizens Band or CB radio, mostly for some emergency and for the most part talking to other drivers on the road. In some industries you'll have a two-way radio instead of that for actually calling kilometers on roads like we have up here in the oil industry, and that's a safety tool right there. So you'll be operating a safety tool such as a radio, two-way radio, while you're driving the truck and concentrating on everything else. Now up above here, you're going to see a whole pile of switches all along the dashboard. A bunch of gauges down here. Now in this video here, I'm not going to go over what all these gauges are and what all the switches do. It'll probably be a little bit in depth for a person just starting into the industry. But the point I'm trying to make here is you're going to be in control of all these things. So not only are you going to be using the steering wheel to drive down the road and control the truck, but you're also going to be using all of these gauges over here, all the ones behind the steering wheel over here, and all of these switches here to operate the truck and make sure it's operating safely and efficiently down the road. And of course at the same time, you're going to be watching out for other motorists, and you're going to be looking in that mirror at the 53 feet of trailer that you're towing behind you there and making sure it's controlled properly too. So it's definitely a type of industry where you have to multitask and you have to think on your feet, or think at the wheel in this case, basically. It's not quite as simple as just getting in the car, turning the key, and driving down the road. There's a lot of different things to look for. So this is what the front of the cab looks like, and I'm going to turn around here in a second and I'll show you what the back of the cab looks like so you get an idea of what the living quarters are like. Okay, for the next step in our video, what I'm going to show you here is what the actual living quarters look like in our truck. I'm trying to get as far into the front of the truck as I can just to give you an idea of the space in here. It is quite a big cab. Like I said, after time it can be limiting though. So anyway, starting over at the passenger seat, there's the back of the passenger seat. You can see right behind it there is a double stacked cupboard which can house a microwave oven, a small refrigerator. There's shelves in there for all your clothing, paperwork, books, things like that. Some small tools and parts you may need. And then mounted up above that, I've got my computer printer up there for my daily work when I'm teaching people. But in this truck there's also a TV jack up there, so if you wanted to have a TV up there for the times you're pulled in at the side of the road having a rest, there is a spot to mount a TV up there with a jack and everything, some plugs to plug it into, and if you're plugged into shore power and cable, you've got TV in your truck. Going up and behind there, you can see there's an upper bunk up there, so two people can share this cab at the same time. So that's the upper bunk there, and then down below is the lower bunk. So that would be where the driver usually sleeps. That upper bunk up there, that one will fold up against the wall. Right up in the back corner there, you'll see a clip, and that's what holds it up. It's on hinges, so the driver himself, if it was a single person, or herself, could fold that up, and then you've got a bed down below here, and the rest of the space for standing up or dressing, things like that. This lower bunk down here, you can see that there is a lock and a hinge at the bottom there also, and that bunk there will lift right up also, and has some storage underneath there, and I'll see if I can open that up in a second here. It's a little tricky holding the camera and microphone and operating things at the same time, but I'll see what I can do to show you. And underneath that bunk where there's compartments, they can also be accessed from the out of the truck outside there. Back here would be where the driver pillow would go if you're sleeping, and you can see back there you've got controls for heaters, for lights, all your creature comfort controls are back there, so the driver can control anything in the cab right from the back when they're sleeping there. And you can see up in the corner there, we've also got some stereo speakers, so we've got some nice sound back there, and some storage in the back there. Then over to this side, we've got another set of cabinets and cupboards and mounting space up on top of them there. This is where I keep my coveralls and clothing on this side here. And then again, this back corner on the upper bunk. So as you can see, this is kind of a nice cab. This one's pretty spacious. If you're doing highway driving and you're not on the road for too long of a time, it's actually not a bad cab to sleep in, especially when you got a few creature comforts in here to keep you nourished and some entertainment when you're parked. But at the same time, like I say, this is certainly not a place a person wants to live their life. This is definitely not an apartment. So don't think at all that this would be a comfortable place for home. So it's another thing to think of if you're getting into the industry. For a short time, this can be a pretty cool place to live while you're seeing some sights on the road and doing your job. But there's also going to come a point where you're going to be really happy to get home and get out of this cab. So a couple of points to think about right there. Okay, so as I was saying before, the lower bunk folds up for storage underneath. So here's the bunk lifted up, and as you can see underneath, we've got storage compartments that are well lit. So over here, we've got a storage compartment where I've got some fan belts, things like that I may need on the road. A bit of a pry bar there. This section here is the heater and motor housing for the bunk heater, so it's got its own separate heater back here, and that can run off of shore power also. So if you're parked, you can plug into, say, an extension cord or something like that and actually have some nice heat back here. The heat comes off of the motor, so you do need the motor heat to be able to use it, but save your power by plugging in. Another storage compartment under here, which, as you can see, I've got nothing in there myself right now. And then over in the far corner is another storage compartment where I've got some oils, tools, first aid kit, some other things that are necessary for operation here. And as you can see, that panel there and that panel there for the storage compartment, they can be accessed from the outside, so I don't need to mess up my bunk and get under there to actually get tools and things out. But if I do need to from inside, handy to do, and it just props itself up with that rod in there. So that's your storage compartment there. So this is the cab of the truck. As you can see, it's got some nice creature comforts in here. There's definitely a lot of stuff in here that can make a person comfortable while you're on the road. As far as trucks I've driven go, this one here is actually one of the more comfortable ones to drive. It's a little bit like driving a car when it comes to the creature comforts of it. It's certainly not like driving a car when it comes to the operation and things you have to do, but definitely it is a comfortable truck. On the other hand, I have been in trucks that are a whole lot narrower than this. Definitely don't have a stand-up bunk or anything like that back there. All you've got is a single bed back there and very cramped living quarters. Between these two seats right here, I have, I'd say about 3.5 to 4 feet in between here. So we've got lots of room between the passenger seat and the driver's. I can stand up and walk back here. I've been in trucks where there's about a foot of room between each seat, and there's really not a whole lot of space for two people to live comfortably in here if you're teaming up with a person, especially if you're driving, say, in an oil tape industry where you've got a swamper, that's another word for a helper, that's riding beside you. So those are some things to think about if you're getting into this industry. Certainly at first it can start to feel quite fun to be behind the wheel of this unit here and be in charge of it, doing what we do, but at the same time, like anything, it can get tiring after a while also. Don't think for a second that I'm complaining, though, or trying to talk anybody out of this. I'm just giving you some examples of what you're going to face if you're getting into the industry. I certainly encourage people who want to get into it to do it. The industry's been great for me, and it's an industry I really stand behind. But it's also the type of industry where if you're not going to fit the mold and you really can't do what it takes to be a professional driver, gracefully bow out and find something that's more applicable to you. There's nothing wrong with that either. There's certainly a lot more to than just driving a truck to this industry, basically. You'll probably hear me in this video and many of our others talk about being a transport operator as opposed to a trucker. Of course, we still hear the term trucker all the time. I don't take too much offense to it myself, but we try to elevate the industry beyond just being a quote-unquote trucker. We're transport operation professionals, essentially. Our job is to operate this equipment and any other equipment that we're given in a safe, professional manner and make sure that either the load we're carrying, the passengers we're carrying, whatever the case may be, make sure it gets between point A and B safely, not only for the customer that's paying for it, but also for everybody else that shares the road with us. I've got 3 little kids and a wife at home myself, and I would feel very bad if I was irresponsible and took out someone's family, and I would feel the same way if someone did the same to my family. Heaven forbid that would ever happen. But this is what we're up against. This is a very large truck, a lot of weight, longer stopping distances, and a lot for you to control. A professional driver, in case you didn't know, is allowed to drive for 13 hours on the road before taking a mandatory break. 13 hours to some people doesn't really seem like a long day. There's a lot of things that we can accomplish in 13 hours in our day-to-day lives. I know if I'm on the weekend and I'm working at home, I can make a pretty good day out of 13 hours. But 13 hours behind the wheel of a big truck like this is another thing for people to think about. It can get pretty tiring. I find myself somewhere between the 8 and 10 hour mark is when I start to find it's time to really watch my perception, watch what I'm doing. That's when I start to get tired myself. And I do try to limit my own days to about 10 hours. I'm not going to say I haven't gone the 13 hours before. I've had some days where I feel very attentive and very good at the 13-hour mark, and I feel I've accomplished my drive safely at that time. But I would have to say for myself, the 10-hour mark is where I recognize that I'm starting to get tired. It's time for me to get off the road and not only keep my health up, but keep the safety of everybody else that's sharing the road around me up. So something to think about. 13 hours in this seat with a few stand-ups to take a restroom break or check your load can get pretty tiring after a while. So those are some things to think about also. Okay, everybody, so what I'm trying to show you here is some differences in lengths and heights and that between a standard passenger vehicle and a semi-trailer. So here's our company pickup truck parked beside one of our training units here. I apologize for the dirtiness of the pickup truck. We were going to wash it before this film today, but unfortunately we couldn't get into the car washes that we use. It was a little bit of a lineup. So anyways, that's kind of besides the point. We do want to show you the size difference. So you can see we're lined up pretty much with the back of the trailer there. And if you look forward, you can see that the entire length of this unit would probably be about the length of 4 of these pickup trucks. So if you're used to driving an extra cab pickup truck in your daily duties, which is certainly a lot bigger than a passenger car, you'd be basically in control of something that's the length of 4 of them now if you were driving a semi-trailer. So certainly one point to get used to right there if you're getting into the industry. The next point is the height of it. As you can see, we're about half the height in a pickup truck as what the trailer is on our training unit here on a semi-trailer. So when we are sitting right up there in the cab of the truck, and I will show you this later from in the cab, we're pretty much looking down on passenger vehicles. Cars for sure, and pickup trucks, we're pretty much looking down on kind of the roof of them and things like that, depending on how high the truck is. So you're sitting a lot higher up off the ground. Where my chair is in the cab of that truck there is pretty much equal to where the top of the chair is, say the backrest of the chair in the pickup truck there. So you're sitting quite a bit higher off the ground when you're driving this truck. Now let's talk about the weight for a second. My pickup truck weighs out at just over 4,000 pounds empty right there. And this trailer here and truck together, we're able to carry just about 100,000 pounds in there. So we could carry about 25 of those trucks in the trailer, of course, if they would fit, and still be right around our legal limit. We're slightly shy of 100,000. And keep in mind that's our gross weight, so we wouldn't have quite 20 trucks in there. We'd have to take into account the weight of the trailer itself and the truck and take that off of the total weight. But needless to say, we can carry a lot of weight in there compared to what you're used to carrying in a passenger car. So some huge differences there. If I open the back door of the trailer on our training unit there and folded the mirrors in on my pickup truck, I could actually drive it into the back of the trailer there. I've hauled a lot of vehicles in trailers before actually, and it's certainly a bit of a tight fit in there, but it will fit without hitting the walls or anything like that. So let's just take a look at that. Okay, so here's the back of the semi-trailer. You can see the 2 swing doors at the back here. They call them barn doors in the industry usually, but they swing wide open. And there's the back end of the pickup truck. And you can see just from looking that although the pickup truck is slightly wide, it's certainly going to fit in between the walls of that. So let's go open the doors up and take a look inside there and see what it looks like. Okay, so if you haven't seen it before, that's what the interior of a van trailer looks like in here. As you can see, the walls have steel beams in here for keeping load bars and things secure in place. That's what that piece is there going across there that holds those concrete blocks in place. those load bars lock into these pieces on the wall here and keep your load from shifting. This trailer, 53 feet long. I don't know if you can see right to the front in here or not. I think you can. And like I say, capable of carrying a huge amount of weight in there, a lot more than you'd ever be used to in your passenger vehicle, which is the reason these trucks move so slowly. So if you've ever been at a red light parked beside or behind a big truck like this, and the light changes to green, you'll notice that the truck in front of you is moving extremely slowly. That's just because it needs to get the load moving. Sometimes these are extremely heavy loads in here. Right now we are carrying 40,000 pounds of weight in here in addition to the weight of our truck and trailer itself. And it takes a lot of power and it takes a lot of gears to get all of this stuff moving. Your passenger vehicle has usually, if it's an automatic, usually 3 to 4 forward gears, including an overdrive. And if it's a standard vehicle, it usually has five gears. Some pickup trucks have 6 now. This particular truck here is a 10-speed, so it has 10 gears, plus we have another truck that has 18 forward gears in it, and 18 speed, plus it has 2 speeds in reverse. So huge difference between operating the two vehicles. You get in your car in the morning and put it in drive, put your foot to the gas pedal, and away she goes basically. In this truck here, we've got to get through 18 gears potentially just to get this truck up to highway speed. Okay folks, so we've seen the size of the truck, we've seen what it can carry, we've seen the inside of the truck. Let's take a quick walk around and just take a look at what it looks like from the outside, because this is going to be part of a driver's daily duties here. Every morning when you come into work, no matter what time that time is, usually it's quite early in the morning for a truck driver, but it can vary. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to come in and you're going to have to do what's called a pre-trip on this truck. And now a pre-trip is a lot different than what you would do in a car to get your day going in the morning. It's very rare for a person in a personal automobile to actually check anything, unfortunately, on their car. Most people get out, put the key in the ignition, turn the car on, and drive away. As a truck driver, what we have to do is we have to spend upwards of an hour going over this truck from top to bottom. And I do mean bottom. We're going to have to crawl underneath the truck and we're going to have to check everything out, make sure this truck is safe for operation on the road before we can travel down the road. Okay, so I'm going to walk to the front of the truck with you and we're going to take a look at some of the things that need to be done. I'm not going to go into great detail on it. I just want to show you what is going to be part of your job if you do get into the trucking industry. So let's go take a look. Okay, so one of the very first things that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to open our hood up, and we're going to have to make sure the engine compartment is safe for operation and make sure all the parts of the engine are working. So let's go ahead and open that up. So we're going to have to go around to one side of the truck and open this latch up right here. That keeps your hood down, and do the same on the other side. And once again, this is the latch here we're opening. And then you carefully go to the front of the truck and open the hood by pulling it forward. Some trucks have extremely heavy hoods. It takes a little bit to pull them forward. You have to be very careful, especially in conditions like this where it's snowy and icy and cold. Other trucks are quite easy to open. This one seems to be quite easy, so let's go over and open it up. So you would grab right here and place your feet firmly on the ground or on the bumper, whichever the case may be on the truck you're using, and pull your hood open. Just like so. Okay, now coming around here, this is the driver's side of the engine compartment, and over the other side, of course, the passenger side, and we're going to have to check everything over on this truck to make sure that it's safe to operate on the road. Okay, so taking a look at this motor, of course anybody who drives a truck is used to looking at stuff like this, but if you take a look here, tell me if you think that you could get under the hood here and know what to actually do to make sure that this engine here is in safe operating condition for your day down the road. Okay, and in addition to that, we will have to get down underneath the truck here, and we're going to have to check out all of our brake assembly, axle assemblies, and things like that, and make sure everything underneath here, your steering parts, everything's safe for operation down here. You can probably tell this one could use a little bit of a washing underneath here right now. We've gone through some dirty conditions lately. But this is going to be part of your job. You're going to have to get down there, whether it's dirty and grimy and greasy or clean as a whistle, and you're going to have to get under there and actually do what's required to do your job. Okay, so there's one side of the motor. Let's go around to the other side and I'll show you that. Okay, so same thing on this side. A little simpler over here, but still there's a lot of components there, and for someone who's never been around machinery or mechanical devices, there's a lot there that you're going to have to check over and be legally responsible for when you're operating a truck like this. So be it said that don't think for a second that you can just get in like you would in a passenger vehicle, turn the key on, start the truck up and drive away. Just literally impossible to do. There's legal ramifications, there's safety ramifications, and a number of other things that could really go wrong for a person. So that's one of the things you're going to have to do. This under the hood process and underneath process, and there's some steps in the cab we're going to have to do also. And the entire thing takes approximately 45 minutes to an hour to do. So, okay, so I've shown you inside the cab already. We did that in the previous section of the video to show you what it's like. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to skip what we have to do in the cab to a brand new person. A lot of the steps we have to do in there for our pre-trip wouldn't make sense anyways. But what I will tell you is there are some steps you have to do in there to legally ensure the truck and the air brake system is operating properly. And that is your responsibility as part of your pre-trip. So part of that hour you're going to spend on the truck in the morning is getting in the cab and making sure all the systems that are operational in there are actually operational. Okay, and then we're going to walk around the truck here, and you'll see that if you take a look in here, this is where the trailer connects to the tractor or the truck. In our terminology, we call the front part, the truck, we call that a tractor, and the back is the trailer, and the tractor is what pulls it. Okay, and here's your air lines. Okay, so these control the brakes. These two lines here, air passes through these lines to operate the brakes on an air brake equipped system. Again, I'm not going to go into detail here with exactly how they work, but it is part of the safety check that you're going to have to do and ensure everything's working properly. This cable here, this green one, is your electrical cable that works all of your brake lights and turn signals and marker lights. Again, part of the safety checks you're going to have to do. And for people who've never seen it before, underneath here is where the trailer connects to the tractor itself. That big plate there is called a fifth wheel. There's a pin inside of it that's mounted on the trailer, and that's what holds the two together. So as we continue down the trailer, right now if I was actually doing my pre-trip, I'd be underneath checking all of my rails and framework of the trailer. And then I would be getting down underneath here, just like I did before, and checking all the components underneath the trailer itself to make sure everything under here is operational and in good shape. Again, it's a process that if you're getting into the industry, I'm not going to go into right now. You're going to have to learn it. But what I am trying to show you is this part is part of the job. If I was taking this truck on the road today, I would have to spend that 45 minutes to an hour at the temperature we're at right now, which is darn cold, and doing a proper pre-trip inspection on this truck to make sure that everything is operational on it. So folks, sorry about the sunshine, I'm just blocking it from my eyes here, but we're coming to the conclusion of the first part of this video, showing you what it takes to operate the truck and what you're going to be facing if you're getting into the industry. Like I said before, I am not at all downplaying the industry. I really hope that anybody who is interested in it gets into it in a professional way, going through a professional driving school. I'm not just promoting myself here, I'm promoting all of us that do this for a living, that believe in safety on the road. You know, I'm up here in Fort St. John, but I'm speaking for someone who could be down in Alabama or West Texas, California. It's a lot of us out there that are doing some professional training to keep the road safe. So if you're getting into it, please think of hiring one of us out there to get the job done. That's the most important part, okay? It's a great industry. There is right now, I think the ratio is about 3 to 1 for baby boomer generation drivers leaving the industry to people coming in. So you're in demand if you're looking at being a truck driver. It's certainly an industry where there's a lot of jobs out there. I know up in this country here in Fort St. John, people are crying for truck drivers right now. It's a high-paying industry for the most part, especially in specialized industries like the oil industry. So you're definitely going to be able to make a good paycheck usually and support the family. That can be different in some parts of the country, but certainly better than average wage no matter where you are. You're going to be happy with the wages you get. And like I said before, the industry itself, it's kind of like family. It's a little bit like military, I guess you would say. Once you've kind of paid your dues and you're in the industry, it's kind of like a family, almost a brotherhood. People treat you with respect. People recognize each other in the industry and help each other out. And hopefully, once you're into it, if you are getting into it, hopefully you're going to help others out too. Not only the people that are entering the industry like you did, but other motorists on the road. I feel that's something that's kind of gone the wayside in the last maybe 20, 30 years, and it's something we aim to change ourselves through our company. But I'd like to see everybody become ambassadors of the highway again, as opposed to just quote-unquote truck drivers.